So if you already have self-love within you, you are not going to go to some man or woman who does not love themselves and ask them to give love to you, because it wouldn't even make sense to you. It would be more so of an inconvenience to you than a reward. Alright guys, so I'm at the park near my home, and I ride past this park quite a bit, and I just never stopped to come. It's a bridge that I want to walk over, but it's also a space that I see I can record at, so I think we're just gonna explore. This is so beautiful. Okay, so I see where I want to set up at, and it's not too far away from this creek, so I'm about to go get set up. Y'all like my hair? I just finished it today, by the way. Today is really for my women. This can benefit men as well, but today we're talking about how to stop hurting your own feelings when it comes to dating or friendships, just basically relationships in general. Bro, you can hear those things like 2, 3, 4 miles away. It's ridiculous. But anyways, how to stop hurting your own feelings. This is mainly for my women, but you know, this does apply to men as well, because this is not just for romantic, intimate relationships, but also friendships, family dynamics, anything. You can apply this to anything. Before I even get into that, book of the month, it started in the middle of July, so it's gonna go until probably the end of August as well, and it's the book Boundaries. I will have a picture. I'm gonna try to put it right here. Boundaries is a good book when it comes to basically having healthy relationships, making sure that people aren't using you or you aren't using people, making sure that you're aware of how others feel as well as how you feel. And also, you know, I'm trying to be structured with this, and I'm trying to kind of be like a guide, but I'm not perfect. So let me just give you my personal experiences, and then we'll just go from there on what I learned. And if we can come to cohesive steps on how to stop hurting your own feelings, then cool, we'll come to that. But I don't want this to be like listening to a robot. It's typical for unhealed people to, once they start to seek healing, to realize that they may be codependent. Most of the time, narcissists don't really ever get to a point of seeking because of the Jezebel spirit, which has no remorse and does not ever intend to repent. So it's a little bit harder for a narcissist to come out of narcissism than it is for codependence. But I am codependent. I realized I was codependent almost a year ago, maybe around October or November. I realized that I was codependent and that I attracted a lot of narcissists, but I didn't realize I was codependent until I realized that my ex fit the description of a narcissist, and I just did more research on it. And also my minor in college was psychology, so that's just like right up my alley to research that kind of stuff. Anyway, somebody else, and you know, we started hanging out, and it felt like repeating the pattern. I felt like I was dating my ex all over again, and that's when I realized that I clearly was not completely healed of my codependency like I thought I was. So that was when that finally ended, after coming to a head, I finally realized, like, okay, you have some work to do. Like, what are you missing? What are you not doing? Or what are you consistently doing to the point where you keep making the same mistakes over and over again? And the biggest mistake I have been making is begging the poor. As a woman or a man or a friend or a sibling or a parent or a child, you want basic affection from people in your intimate circle. That's what we all want. We want affection, we want love, we want a sense of closeness and belonging. But the problem is we're begging, you know what? Let me break down begging the poor. We're asking, we're pleading, we're literally on our hands and knees with no dignity, asking people to provide us with something they don't even have. And that is what I mean by begging the poor. Because if you needed $1, you would not go to the first person, homeless person, I'm not going to call them homeless person, a person with no home. You're not going to go to a person lacking shelter and ask them for $1. If you need a coat, you're not going to go to the person sleeping on the bench in the middle of winter with no coat, just a thin sheet, and ask them for a coat. You're not going to beg them for a coat because you clearly see they don't have it, right? So why do we continuously ask people or beg people to love us if they don't even have the capacity to hold it for themselves? Why do we go to people seeking affection when they don't have it? They clearly don't have it. And when I say clearly don't have it, is the red flags that we choose to ignore, right? So in the case of friendships, you want this friend to be loyal to you, but every time y'all are around men, she's like, oh, dogging you out or embarrassing you or telling your business, or physically embarrassing you, snatching wigs off. Like, I've seen all kind of crazy stories. But why would you continue to be friends with somebody and beg for them to be loyal to you and beg for them to respect you and treat you with basic friendship decency when she's already shown you she doesn't have it, right? The same way where we're with the man and he tells us he has commitment issues, or he tells us that he's not looking for a relationship, but we stick around hoping that he'll commit to us and he'll make us his girlfriend and he'll give us a ring, or whatever, or he won't cheat on us after he's admitted that he's cheated on countless other women. Why stay in that and demand him do that for you when he's already clearly told you he can't? That's begging the poor. So once our feelings are hurt and once we're sad, now you hating people. Oh, I hate her because she embarrassed me in front of all those people, or she told my business, or my mama done told the whole family what I did, get in trouble, or he cheated on me, he dealing with another woman. It's like, how are you even upset at these people for being poor in morality? They're poor in morality, they're poor in sincerity, they're poor in love, they're poor in affection, they're poor. They're spiritually poor. And they told you they're spiritually poor by the red flags that you chose to ignore, right? But you're begging the poor. Now now once I realized that begging the poor is not only insanity, it also shows that you're poor. And let me tell you why. If I'm homeless and I have a friend who's homeless and we're homeless together and somebody gives her a blanket, I'm gonna be like, oh, can I get that blanket? Right? But the only reason I'm asking her for a blanket is because I'm also poor too. When I'm spiritually, if I already have a blanket, I'm not gonna go ask her for a blanket. If I already have a home, I'm not gonna go ask this homeless person for a blanket, right? But in order for you to even be on the level of spiritually poor people, you have to already be spiritually poor, because otherwise you would know better. And I hope y'all I hope that's making sense. I hope y'all catching what I'm saying. In order to beg the poor, you must already be poor. Because if you are safe and warm in your house, you have no reason to get up out of your warm home, go to a park, and ask a homeless person for a blanket. So if you already have self-love within you, you are not going to go to some man or woman who does not love themselves and ask them to give love to you, because it wouldn't even make sense to you. It would be more so of an inconvenience to you than a reward. And a lot of times we see women who seem to have a poor person acting right, a poor man acting right, or we see that our old friends have new friendships and the friendship appears better than it was when they were friends with us, right? That is because they are both poor. And I don't mean in the sense of like, you know, they're actually poor, they actually don't have anything, but you can only mix and mingle with people who are on your level. So if you find yourself begging the poor, then instead of getting mad at the poor not giving to you something they don't have, maybe you should reevaluate why you're poor. So back to my story, I finally got tired and I said, you know what, it's a reason why I keep asking spiritually poor people or morally poor people to be good friends to me, be a good man to me, be a good anything to me, right? And what is it? Because as much as I would like to think that I'm better than this person because I know better than to treat people this way, I must not be at the level they're at. But if you truly weren't at the level they were at, you would not be in an environment to meet the people you meet. You would not be in an environment or in a predicament where you're even needing something outside of yourself, right? So that's when I realized that I was poor. And not only was I begging the poor, I was begging the poor because I was poor. So from this point forward, I have vowed to not only give myself what I want, because everything I need is already within me, but from this point forward to not place myself in environments where the poor have access to me. And let me just disclaimer, I have nothing against homeless people. I have been homeless before. I have nothing against people who lack financially, because I have lacked financially before, and I just would never do that. But this is what I mean, spiritually poor, morally poor. You're asking a man who doesn't love himself to not cheat on you and to love you. He can't. He doesn't have it. You're asking an insecure, jealous woman to be a good friend to you and to not envy you. She can't. She doesn't have positivity far as friendships and security within herself to give you security in y'all's friendship. You're asking your mother to not be critical and not be judgmental towards you. She can't. Like, she cannot provide that. Your father cannot provide anything that they don't have. So the next time you're upset because somebody won't treat you right, have compassion for them and understand that they don't have it to give. And that's what I want to say about begging the poor. So you have to, one, realize you're poor in those same areas. Secondly, you have to have compassion because even if you aren't there now, you were once there. And you know how much of a healing journey it takes to get to a point where you have that. So have compassion for the poor, because we've all been there. And number 3 is heal and remove yourself. Those are the 3 steps to stop hurting your own feelings and stop begging the poor. And it's really self-explanatory, so this video isn't going to be super long. I just really want people to understand that if somebody is treating you a certain way, it's because they don't have the necessary spiritual or moral tools or ethical tools to give that to you. Excuse me. They just don't have it. And for some people, they may be too far gone, but for other people, if you feel like the relationship is worth saving, then it is. But in order to stop begging the poor, you need to meet somebody where they're at. And if where somebody is at is far more than you're willing to reach in a relationship, then that's fine. And that's where boundaries come into play, where you don't have to accept anything you are not comfortable with accepting. If you meet a man and that man tells you he's not ready to commit, you can choose to meet him where he's at, or you can say, you know what, you cost a little bit more than what I'm willing to give, so I can't even give it to you. Or if you meet a girl and she envies you but she really wants to be your friend, the red flags speak for themselves, really. You just have to be listening. But if you want to continue that relationship, you can meet that person halfway. Or you can say, you know what, that friendship is going to cost way more than I'm willing to give. And I would rather people put their boundaries in place and say, this is costing way too much of my peace and sanity and mental healing and health than I'm willing to sacrifice. That'll save us from hurting our own feelings. And that is exactly what I mean. How to stop hurting your own feelings is to stop begging the poor. Just stop begging the poor. Because if you choose to meet somebody halfway, you cannot be mad at anybody, because you were aware. You made a conscious, aware decision. So it would be pointless to even be upset when something goes left, because you've made the conscious decision to meet somebody where they're at. Now, there are circumstances where people will lie, but that's why I'm saying you have to be paying attention to the red flags, because at the end of the day, somebody can only lie out their teeth so many times before their actions tell on them. A man can tell you he is ready to commit and he can make you his girlfriend, but some of his actions, like him not posting you and him making you spend all your money on him, those are red flags that show you that he's not ready for commitment, no matter what came out of his mouth. A woman who claims she's secure and she wants to be your friend and she really enjoys your company and you're one of the best friends she's ever had, but every time attention is around, she's tripping out and flipping out on you, or she's spreading your business, that's a red flag that even though her actions said otherwise, her actions made it plain. People cannot hide who they are, and if they can't hide it for long. So I need you guys to stop begging the poor. Stop begging that man to treat you right. He doesn't even treat himself right. Stop begging that girl to be a good friend to you. She's not even a good friend to herself. Stop begging people to love you when they don't even love themselves. You are begging the poor. Every time y'all do that, I want y'all to think about how you are begging the poor. It literally, listen to the statement. Begging, which is pleading, which is asking repeatedly the poor, someone who's lacking something. You're pleading for somebody to give you something they don't have. And that is why you end up crying all night. That is why people end up locked up on Fatal Attraction. That is why friendships don't last. That is why relationships don't last. That is why us today in America have so much controversy when it comes to unity. It's because we're constantly begging people to give us something they don't have, and we don't have it either. That's why we want somebody else to give it to us. And I already know this is everybody's not gonna understand this, but I said what I said. Yeah, I said what I said, and I meant it. The only time you beg the poor is when you don't have it either. That's why you need somebody else to give it to you. So whatever you begging other people for, I need y'all to stop begging other people for it and give it to yourself. And on that note, this video is over. Y'all like my hair? Yeah.